Okay, so picture this, a major trade route just completely slammed shut.
Oh, wow.
Goods are piling, everything's at a standstill.
Like a traffic jam with no end in sight?
Exactly. That's kind of what happened between India and Bangladesh on April 8th, 2025.
Yeah, I remember seeing those headlines.
It really shows you just how fast things can change in international trade.
Absolutely. 1 minute things are moving, the next they're not.
So today we're diving deep into India's decision to revoke this trans-shipment facility that Bangladesh was using.
Right. This was a big deal.
Now, this might sound a little technical, so think of it this way.
Okay.
Since June 2020, Bangladesh had this kind of like a VIP pass through India to export goods to places like Bhutan, Nepal, even Myanmar.
They were using India's infrastructure.
Yeah, they could use India's land customs stations, the air cargo facility at Delhi's IGI airport, all sorts of ports.
It was a shortcut for them, made those trade routes much more efficient and cheaper.
Right, exactly. It was like they had these reliable transit lanes across India.
And then, poof, gone.
Yeah. Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're going to try to figure out why this happened so suddenly, who's affected, and what it means for trade and regional politics.
A lot of layers to unpack here.
Oh yeah, we're going way beyond the headline.
Beyond the surface.
So April 8th, 2025, that's when the news dropped.
Big day.
The official announcement came from India's Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs.
The CBIC.
Yeah, the CBIC.
Yeah.
They're the ones who call the shots on these things in India.
They basically set the rules for imports, exports, all that stuff.
Right. So what they did was they rescinded a circular from June 29th, 2020.
5 years almost to the day.
Yeah, basically reversed course completely, and they said it was effective immediately.
There was one little exception, though.
Oh, yeah, right.
Cargo that was already in India under the old rules could still go through.
It wasn't a total shutdown for stuff already in transit,
Right.
but anything new, any new transshipments from Bangladesh, those were stopped right then and there.
So that begs the question, why the sudden change?
Right. What made India make such a drastic move?
Well, the official line coming from India is that they were feeling pressure from their own exporters.
Interesting.
And one sector in particular was really feeling the heat apparel.
Apparel, huh?
You know, both India and Bangladesh are big players in the global textile market.
Huge, yeah.
And Bangladesh has really become a powerhouse in apparel manufacturing.
So they're competition for India.
Big time.
Gotcha. So we heard from Ajay Sahai. He's the Director General of the Federation of Indian Export Organizations, FIEO.
I know FIEO, they're a major voice for Indian exporters.
Right. And Sahai basically said that revoking this facility would free up air cargo space for Indian goods.
Makes sense if there's limited space.
Yeah, the idea is that all those Bangladeshi goods were taking up too much room,
Creating a bottleneck.
especially at the Delhi airport.
I can see how that would be a problem.
Then there's Sudhir Sekri. He's the chairman of the Apparel Export Promotion Council.
AEPC, another big industry group.
Exactly. And Sekri was really worried about the number of Bangladeshi trucks coming into Delhi every day.
How many are we talking?
Like 20 to 30 fully loaded trucks every single day.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and he was saying that was causing major congestion.
I bet, especially at an airport.
Right, and Indian exporters were saying this was hurting them.
Hitting them where it hurts.
They said air freight rates were going up, sometimes triple the normal cost.
Ouch, that's got to impact their bottom line.
Yeah, making them less competitive globally.
Mm-hmm.
So the official reason seems to be all about these economic pressures.
India looking out for their own.
Yeah, putting their own interests first. But then it gets really interesting.
Oh.
Right before India made this decision, Bangladesh's interim leader, Muhammad Yunus, went on a trip to China.
Interesting timing.
This was back in March 26th to 29th, 2025. And what he said during that visit seems to be a key part of this story.
You think it's connected?
Definitely seems like it. So Yunus made some remarks about India's northeastern states, you know, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, all those.
Seven Sisters.
Yeah, he pointed out that they're mostly landlocked. They don't have easy access to the ocean.
Which is true geographically speaking.
Right, and that impacts their trade and everything.
It's a big deal for them.
But then he said something really interesting. He said Bangladesh is the only guardian of the ocean in this region.
Wow, that's a loaded statement.
Right, so like he's saying Bangladesh controls access to the sea for that whole area.
Geopolitically, that's a huge statement.
Exactly, and then it gets even spicier. Yunus basically pitched Bangladesh to China as an extension of the Chinese economy.
Whoa, now that's got to raise some eyebrows in Delhi.
Oh, yeah. India is very aware of China's growing influence in the region.
And they don't like it.
Not one bit. So for India, this was way more than just a trade dispute.
It's a power play.
Exactly. Bangladesh was offering itself as an alternative route for China to reach those northeastern states.
Bypassing India completely.
A total end around. It was like a geopolitical slap in the face.
I can see why India would be upset.
So we have these two big things happening, the economic pressures and this geopolitical move by Bangladesh.
A real 1-2 punch.
And that seems to be what pushed India to make this decision.
It's rarely just one thing in these situations.
Right. It's always a mix of factors.
Now the question is who wins and who loses.
Right. What are the consequences?
Well, for India, some of their industries might actually benefit in the short term.
Like the ones complaining about the congestion.
Exactly, like apparel, footwear, gems, and jewelry, those folks.
Right. They're probably seeing less congestion at the Delhi airport.
Maybe even some lower air freight costs.
So they got what they wanted.
But what about Bangladesh?
That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah, we talked to Ajay Srivastava from the Global Trade Research Initiative.
Oh, yeah. He had some interesting thoughts.
He said this is going to really disrupt Bangladesh's imports and exports.
Because they were relying on India for all that.
Right. This was a key part of their strategy.
And now they're facing delays, higher costs, a whole logistical nightmare.
Uncertainty is never good for business.
And it's not just India and Bangladesh. We got to think about Nepal and Bhutan, too.
Oh, right. They're landlocked.
They were using this route through India to trade with Bangladesh. Exactly. Srivaso said they might start complaining about this.
Because it's hurting their trade, too.
Right. They're stuck in this landlocked limbo.
Not a good place to be.
And then there's the whole WTO angle.
The World Trade Organization.
Yeah, they're like the referees of global trade.
They set the rules of the game.
And there's this agreement, Article V, of GATT 1994.
I know that one. It's all about freedom of transit for landlocked countries.
Right, they have the right to move their goods freely.
And both India and Bangladesh are WTO members.
So Srivastava said India's decision could be a problem.
A violation of the rules?
It definitely raises some questions.
Could lead to a big trade dispute.
And remember, this isn't happening in a vacuum.
Oh no, the whole global trade scene is a mess right now.
The U.S. is putting tariffs on everyone.
Everyone's getting nervous.
You got to wonder if that played a role in India's decision.
Maybe they felt like they had to protect themselves.
It's like a chain reaction.
One thing links to another.
But let's go back to China for a second.
That Yunus trip was a game changer.
Yeah, his comments about Bangladesh being an extension of the Chinese economy, that's got to be a red flag for India.
It's like a direct challenge to their influence.
Especially in those northeastern states.
Those are strategically important for India.
Sharing borders with multiple countries.
And China's been making moves in that region.
So for India, this is about way more than just trade.
It's about power.
It's about sending a message.
Don't mess with our backyard.
And we can't forget about the people who are actually affected by all this.
The human cost.
What about those truck drivers who are doing all those trans-shipments?
They're out of work.
And the small exporters in Bangladesh?
They're scrambling to find new routes, new options.
It's a tough situation.
And even if Indian exporters benefit,
Those high freight rates probably won't go down anytime soon.
airlines are going to keep charging what they can.
So what happens next?
Well, Bangladesh has to find new ways to export their goods.
Maybe through their own ports like Chattogram?
But that's not a perfect solution.
There could be delays, capacity issues.
And it'll cost more.
And don't forget about the WTO.
If Nepal, Bhutan, or Bangladesh file a complaint.
This could turn into a big legal battle.
And China's going to keep watching all of this very closely
They're looking for opportunities.
to expand their influence
And India is trying to reduce their reliance on Bangladesh for access to their northeast,
through those infrastructure projects.
like the Keladan project.
So many moving pieces.
But at the end of the day, this goes deeper than just trade logistics.
I agree.
It's about trust, or the lack of trust between India and Bangladesh.
It's complicated.
They do a lot of business together,
Billions of dollars.
but geopolitics can change everything.
In a heartbeat.
India sent a clear message with this move.
A warning shot.
It's about who you side with in the region.
And playing by the rules.
So to sum it up, India shut down this trans-shipment facility for Bangladesh, and it looks like it was because of pressure from their own exporters and this whole geopolitical situation with China.
It's a big deal for everyone involved.
It's going to have a huge impact on Bangladesh, maybe even Nepal and Bhutan.
And it raises some serious questions about international trade rules.
So here's a thought for you. What does all this mean for the future of South Asia?
How do these countries navigate these complex relationships?
It's a real balancing act.
With high stakes.
It shows you how trade, geopolitics, and regional development are all intertwined.
You can't separate them.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a fascinating discussion.
We'll keep following this story as it develops.